The other day, I was reading a listicle, as I often do, about iconic gay couples in film. Jack and Ennis, Chiron and Kevin, Oliver and Elio. But it seemed to me that one was missing. But as I scrolled through listicle after listicle in a desperate attempt to find mention of the iconic gay couple that shaped me most, I came up empty. I scoured every dark corner of the internet, and yet I couldn't find them. The men who learn together, grow together, sing together. The men who don't dance together. And in that moment, I knew that this was something I had to do myself. So today, let's talk about Chad and Ryan.
We're all in this together, and it shows when we stand hand in hand, make our dreams come.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Recently, I felt pulled to go back to my roots and discuss High School Musical. If you haven't been watching me for a while, the second video that I put up was on High School Musical, and it was called How High School Musical Demonizes Femininity, I think. And that really kickstarted my ascent to YouTube stardom, to put it humbly. Ever since I made that video, I thought about going back to High School Musical and looking at the films from a different perspective, and the time has finally come. I know other channels have made videos about Chad and Ryan or High School Musical is gay, but I haven't. So, to be clear, though I will certainly be discussing Chad and Ryan at length, I'm also going to look at the general queer representation and potential of High School Musical. So, fair warning, as the video goes along, it might get a little abstract. Some might say I'm reaching, or that it's not that deep, or that these films don't merit this level of analysis. But what good is a degree in film if you don't use it to pick apart every single frame of a 16-year-old children's film franchise? So pop on a newsboy cap and be sure to turn it a little to the side, because we're going to talk about Ryan Evans. I thought I would channel my inner Gabriella and cosplay as a woman in STEM for a minute to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Care of. Care of is a monthly subscription service that ships high-quality and science-backed vitamins, supplements, and powders right to your doorstep. Care of does all the work for you. They analyze your needs based on a quiz about your diet, lifestyle, and health goals, and they provide recommendations. Your chosen pills are then shipped to you in a little pack with your name on them, and anything that has quizzes or personalization in it is an immediate buy for me. I also really like that the packs are made from a plant-based compostable film, so if you compost them, they can act as a little snack from Mother Earth. The products are made from good-for-you, clean ingredients that are backed by the latest science and research, so you can feel good about what you're putting in your body. I'm vegetarian, so I got Veggie Omega-3, which is vital for healthy heart and brain function, and I also got zinc, which is essential for the immune system. I learned that the human body doesn't produce zinc on its own, and so normally people get it from like meat or fish, but since I don't eat either of those, I gotta supplement it other ways. I've been taking the vitamins for probably like 3 weeks now, and I find the format of Care of so helpful because before I would buy a bunch of vitamins, I'd put them in a drawer, I'd take them for like 2, maybe 3 days, and then completely forget about them for months. I have ADHD, so if I don't see something every day, then I forget it exists. But I actually look forward to taking my little Care of pack every morning with my breakfast, and so far, I haven't missed a day. Take Care of's quiz and see what vitamins and supplements they recommend for you, and click on the link below and use my code FILMFATALES for 50% off your first order with Care of. Ryan Evans is gay. We watch High School Musical, and before he even opens his mouth, we know. They put some little hats on him, they dress him in pastels, and we got it. I got it. You got it.
Freddie and JJ got it. That termite over there got it.
Anyone who looks at Ryan for more than 10 seconds knows that he is gay. And why is that? Well, It has something to do with a little thing called queer coding. I'm not going to go into the full history of queer coding in cinema, so here are some videos that break it down in depth really well, and I also recommend the books Queer Images and The Celluloid Closet, as well as the Celluloid Closet documentary if you're interested. But just so that you know why I'm talking about it in this context, I'm going to explain it a little. So queer coding is when filmmakers use codes like mannerisms, speech patterns, costuming to let the audience know that a character is queer without explicitly saying it.
Veronica Lodge, Kevin Keller. Veronica's new here. Kevin is gay, thank God.
It initially came about with the introduction of Hollywood censorship policies in the 1930s called the Hays Code, as well as the influence of the Catholic Church at that time. The Hays Code was a strict set of rules that outlined what filmmakers were allowed to show, and they lasted from 1934 to 1968. So to avoid being censored for sexual perversion, filmmakers used subtext or symbols as codes for sex, queerness, etc. Sex could be symbolized by waves crashing on the beach, or fireworks going off, or a flickering fireplace, or even a train going into a tunnel, which wasn't quite as subtle. Though we've obviously done away with the bans on sex, queer coding remains. Characters on screen may have a very romantic, intimate relationship.
I love you.
But instead of explicitly depicting them in a relationship or engaging in physical intimacy, filmmakers just hint at it. They just sprinkle a little trail of breadcrumbs for the gaze to follow. Cast members may also engage in the teasing of a relationship, but often no queer relationship actually comes to fruition. What results is representation that is just gay enough to rope in the LGBTs, but not so gay that the conservatives revolt. It's often posited that queer relationships aren't explicitly depicted for this very reason. Big studios don't want to risk alienating their conservative, homophobic audiences. Disney is a media monolith that, despite its legacy of offensive and regressive characters and stories, is now viewed as the pinnacle of family-friendly media. As Dominic Simons highlights, Disney has a reputation for being squeaky clean, eschewing overly sexualized content in its productions and maintaining standards of modesty that suit various audiences and cultures. Because of its aim to appeal to the masses, Disney is still reluctant to have blatant queer representation. The 2017 Beauty and the Beast was rumored to have a huge gay moment that built off of LeFou's queer coding in the animated original. And what was this monumental, groundbreaking moment of LGBT representation? 3 seconds of men dancing together. Filmmakers in 1895 may have shown 2 men dancing for more than 3 seconds, but God knows they didn't have the conservative Disney moms to answer to. Disney was so brave. I can't believe they dared to show that. Even with tiny moments of LGBT representation, the conservatives still revolt. Disney has progressed recently with an openly gay main character on Disney Channel's Andy Mack and queer characters in the main cast of High School Musical, the musical, the series. Given that Disney has only included queer characters in their shows over the past 3 years, you can guess that when High School Musical came out in 2006, they were a lot less willing to explicitly mark a character as queer. All the relationships in the film are wholly heteronormative, and most of the main characters end up paired with a member of the opposite sex. However, Kenny Ortega, the director of the 3 films, said that he envisioned Ryan as gay and thought that he would be closeted in high school and maybe come out in college, which reflected Ortega's own experiences. Lucas Grabeel echoed this and said that he played Ryan as gay. Of course, there's nothing wrong with having Ryan being closeted in high school, but the vibe from Kenny was that it was more of an obligation than an artistic decision. In an interview with Variety, Kenny Ortega was asked if it would have been possible to make Ryan openly gay, to which he responded, "I have to be honest with you, I didn't think at the time, and Disney is the most progressive group of people I've ever worked with. I was concerned because it was family and kids that Disney might not be ready to cross that line and move into that territory yet. So I just took it upon myself to make choices that I felt that those who were watching would grab. They would see it, they would feel it, they would know it, and they would identify with it. And that is what happened." Mr. Ortega, we do indeed see it, feel it, know it, and identify with it. And we see it because of queer coding. How does the queer coding appear in High School Musical, and what about Ryan's character marks him as gay? Queer coding relies on stereotypes about queer people, most simply marking men as feminine and women as masculine. Sometimes these can be incredibly offensive and one-dimensional caricatures, reducing gay people to being the limp-wristed, sassy gay best friend or the man-hating butch lesbian. Because these stereotypes are so ingrained in our cultural consciousness and have been reinforced by so much media, we are able to recognize a character is supposed to be queer when they conform to these stereotypes. Ryan Evans falls into a very prominent gay archetype that traces back to early cinema, which is the sissy.
They were all very prissy. You know, these little skinny white men with little mustaches who would go like this.
Ryan is starkly different from the other male characters in the film, most of whom are wildcats and hypermasculine men whose lives revolve around sports. He has an interest in fashion, which is stereotypical of gay men, and where most guys wear jeans, t-shirts, and hoodies, Ryan always wears carefully curated, color-coordinated outfits with accessories galore, including his signature hats, of course. He wears pinks, pastels, and bedazzled garments. And what other way to describe his style but flamboyant? During A Night to Remember, the girls sing about how their dream night has finally arrived, while all the guys complain about tuxedos and prom, saying it's the night of nightmares. Well, not all the guys. Ryan is separated from the other guys and is, like the girls, excited to get ready for and go to prom, which further marks him as feminine and different. Ryan's feminization is also clear when we compare him to his sister. He's portrayed as subservient and submissive to his twin sister Sharpay, trailing behind her in the halls and obeying her commands. Sharpay paradoxically possesses masculine coded traits of ambition, assertiveness, and dominance. I go into her character more detail in the How High School Musical Demonizes Femininity video if you want to see that. Ryan's relationship with his sister sets him apart because the other guys either sing duets with or dance with their love interests, but Ryan is almost always paired with his sister, desexualizing him and underscoring how he doesn't have any romantic interest in the female characters. But this doesn't have the same connotations for Sharpay, who wants Troy but can't have him. For most of the franchise, Ryan has no subject of romantic affections. However, in the third film, he's weirdly paired with Kelsey, and it's a true curveball that has not been hinted at before this. His relationship with Kelsey starts off as a ploy to get her songs, but he asks her to prom, and in a deleted scene, they both seem flustered and nervous, as if they actually like each other. Thank God they deleted that scene because it really doesn't fit with either character. Unlike the other male characters in the film, he's not athletic and he's not a member of any high school sports teams. He plays golf and baseball in the second film, but I'm gonna circle back to baseball later. We see some gender stereotypes regarding femininity and sport pop up during golf. When the Evans family play, only Mr. Evans and Troy are capable of playing well, but Sharpay is secretly a golf pro, and her athletic abilities are interesting, I think, given her masculine coded attributes. On the other hand, since Ryan displays traditionally feminine characteristics and does not subscribe to the hypermasculine jock stereotype, he's shown to be weak at golf. He instead favors yoga, and his dad does not seem to be a fan of that.
You've been working out.
Yoga.
Bring that around. There you go.
Speaking of his dad, A trope of gay coming-of-age narratives is that the often closeted gay son has tension with or fears the reaction of his father because of his sexuality. We see it in Glee, Call Me By Your Name, Love, Simon, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and High School Musical dips its toe into this trope a little. We see Mr. Evans trying to instill more masculine qualities in Ryan. We saw his reaction to Ryan's yoga, and he often shows more interest in Troy's basketball than Ryan's musical theater. And something I find interesting is Mr. Evans's attitude towards Ryan's hat. He straightens Ryan's hat for him or tells him to bring it to the front. And not to read too deeply into this, but could it possibly represent Mr. Evans's desire for Ryan to appear straighter? Even after Ryan wins the Star Dazzle Award, his dad is still concerned with his off-kilter hat and the public perception of his son. So I know that may sound like a reach, but it's a really interesting character quirk or running joke to include, so I feel like it means something. Ryan's passion lies in musical theater and performing, and he picks the feminine sphere of the arts over the masculine sphere of sports. The gay artist is another well-worn archetype, and more than any other art form, musical theater, with all its campiness and spectacle, is most strongly associated with queer culture and gay men. Music tastes are often indicative of character traits, and gay men loving musical theater or divas like Cher, Britney, Gaga is a stereotype that can be shorthand for signaling their queerness.
To all my friends at the LGBTQ community, happy Pride Month.
But perhaps the most talked about aspect of Ryan's sexuality has to do with a little wildcat, a man who I think could possibly, maybe, potentially be a bisexual king. Chad. Even the name makes you think jock, bro, himbo. And Chad Danforth is all those things. But I also think he might be queer.
If you want to play ball, then grab a mitt. But I don't dance.
You don't think dancing takes some game?
You got game?
Little?
Chad is the stereotypical jock. He spends the majority of the first film trying to uphold rigid gender constraints and social boundaries. Stick to the status quo is a High School Musical 1 Chad Danforth anthem. He is firmly against Troy singing and tries to prevent him from joining the Spring Musicale in a narrative that reappears time and time again. There's one jock who wants to sing, and all his teammates are like, no, bro, that's gay. Don't do that. Now, I'm not trying to say that Chad is queer or that the writers intended him to be, but I do think that his wildcat jock side has elements of queerness, and it's often a character archetype that's employed to mask a closeted gay guy. The image of guys tumbling around, getting sweaty, and then showering together in the locker room, it's a little gay.
And then they create wars so they can feel things and touch each other, and when there aren't any wars, they can play rugby.
Other films and TV shows are rife with the homoeroticism of these relationships. Point Break, Top Gun, Fight Club, and maybe most relevant is the locker room number in season 2 of Euphoria, which takes the homoeroticism to a whole new level. But Chad does eventually break out, or should I say break free, of his hypermasculine jock persona in later films. The second film shows Chad starting to explore a different side to him. And here is where the infamous, incomparable gay anthem comes in. I think it may even have been played at Stonewall. But you didn't hear that from me. Of course, I'm talking about I Don't Dance. Brief side note, musicals often substitute physical intimacy or romantic displays for songs in which two love interests sing their feelings to one another. This is especially true of family-friendly films that can't show outright displays of romantic intimacy. What an interesting time for me to bring that little tidbit up. Anyways, probably not relevant at all. I Don't Dance has been talked about, dissected, and held up as the ultimate proof of Chad and Ryan's love for one another. I think you can definitely read it as symbolic of Chad's bisexual awakening. And I say bisexual because I do think he truly loves Monique, and I don't want to discount their relationship. It's pretty hard to ignore the innuendo and connotations of I Don't Dance. It takes place on a baseball field. It features all the men dancing around bases, which, as we all know, first base, second base, third base are all codes for different levels of fornication. It also seems very flirty and tense between the two, with Ryan teasing, "You'll never know if you don't try." And I'm not just pulling this innuendo out of thin air, because even Corbin Bleu admitted to it.
And this number in general cracks me up just because there are so many like innuendos that you'd think are in there. Oh yeah, he's like, "You'll never know," and I'm like, "Oh, I know." He's like, "You never tried." It's just like what are you suggesting there?
Then obviously visually there's a lot of phallic imagery with guys swinging bats and throwing balls at one another. The start, where Ryan and Chad grip the baseball bat while making unwavering eye contact. Tell me that's not gay.
Oh, I get it. Cute. You leave this pen here and people are supposed to think, wait, that looks like a dick.
But most prominent is the irony of Chad singing I Don't Dance while doing full choreography. Intense, complex choreography. He's also done like 6 dance routines over the course of the films at this point. So it's like making out with a guy and repeatedly stopping and saying,
"No, I'm not gay. No, but I'm not gay, so."
As many people have puzzled over, after the routine, Chad and Ryan have swapped clothes, for which no explanation is given, and this leads us to assume that they're probably sharing much more than items of clothing.
And he would go and he says, "I want you two to switch hats, switch outfits." And we're like, "Oh," he goes, "It's gonna, I trust me." And then the whole thing, it ended up, representing us actually coming together and coming to a bit of mutual understanding.
But the result on screen, considering the latent gay connotations of the number that just preceded it, is bizarre. Not to mention, they're eating hot dogs and shaking ketchup bottles while engaging in their pillow talk. The third film doesn't give us much Chad development. He takes part in the musical without complaint, but his main arc is looking forward to going to college to play basketball with Troy. But Troy isn't sure if he wants to go to the University of Albuquerque or Juilliard. These films are so funny. As I said, there's no definitive answer for Chad's sexuality, so you can read into it as much or as little as you want. Personally, I don't think that much about it, Certainly not enough to write an 11-page script. On the note of overanalyzing children's films, now this pertains to the first film more than any others, but I think that High School Musical could, as a whole, be read as a queer coming-of-age narrative. If you are a little baby queer kid or adult watching this film and you see two people begin to explore a new part of themselves, a part that doesn't necessarily fit into the expectations that people have for them, and then they hide this part from their loved ones, you might think that it could stand for queer awakening. I'm not saying that Troy and Gabriella are queer or gay or whatever, but regardless of whether it was intentional or not, I think the film definitely speaks to the queer experience. And obviously, there doesn't have to be a queer intention behind something in order for it to be adopted by the queer community.
Oh my God!
High School Musical is all about rejecting labels and prescribed gender stereotypes, coming into your own and being authentic to yourself. And there's a sense at the beginning of the film that Troy and Gabriella are hiding a part of themselves, and they're not being true to who they are. They're sneaking around, worrying about being outcasts if people find out. And the tension that surrounds the conversation with their friends and their family as the truth is gradually revealed feels so quintessentially queer. There's a couple things that Troy and Gabriella say, which further lends the film to a queer reading.
Hey, Dad. Did you ever think about trying something new, but were afraid of what your friends might think?
Did you ever feel like there's this whole other person inside of you just looking for a way to come out? Just looking for a way to come out?
I'll just leave that there for you to process, for you to interpret as you wish. But it's not just Troy and Gabriella. In Stick to the Status Quo, there's this moment where everyone has a coming out of sorts. They reveal secret passions that go against their role in their strictly designated high school cliques. Kenny Ortega really underscores the theme of the film with the iconic song, the beautiful ballad, the dreamy duet.
Soaring and flying, isn't it? Take a chance.
We see our protagonists embrace all sides of themselves and break out of gender roles and expectations. And there's a huge amount of freedom and relief when they realize that everyone is accepting of their singing, of course. As I've said throughout the video, everything that I've analyzed and suggested, besides Ryan, is very much up to interpretation. I'm by no means saying that any of this is 100% intentional or true. I'm just looking at a way that you could possibly, potentially read these films. Because it's so fun to ponder what happened in those minutes, hours, days, behind closed doors when Chad and Ryan were switching clothes. I don't know. And we never will know. We can only imagine. When I was writing this video, I was also thinking a lot about Kelsey and whether we could read her as gay. But all I was picking up from Kelsey and her little cargo shorts and waistcoats were gay vibes. And it's definitely difficult, not impossible, but difficult to construct an argument based on...
I don't know, I just get that vibe, you know?
Anyways, thank you for watching this video and allowing me to pay the bills by talking about how gay High School Musical is for half an hour. Be sure to check out the link for Care of in the description so that I can continue to produce masterpieces like this. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.